Hey everybody, this is Mike from the Amateur Repeater Directory. Hey, this is a little bit different video than we've done in the past. I think it's probably going to be one of our most important videos we ever do. It talks about some new technology that's coming that is going to change. I don't want to just say ham radio, I want to say RF communications. And some stuff we're doing that's getting ahead of that game and preparing for that and actually already able to provide the kind of technology I think a lot of them are going to look for. So I have my screen divided in three parts. Over here we have the trusty amateur repeater directory ecosystem. In the middle pane we have the what we call the AirPulse Network API, and that little device down there in the bottom, you see it's called AirPulse. That's something we are creating, and actually I'm writing the firmware for that already that goes on the chip. Well, one of the chips. And on the left is what we call a next generation radio. Everything you see on the screen is real, except for the next generation, radio. This is a virtual version of it, but it's fully functional and talking the live data. So where do we begin? Let's talk about the AirPulse hardware. This is sitting down here. You can see it in the image. Someone would buy this, they would take it home, they would plug it in and set it on a table, preferably by a window or someplace where it gets good reception. And what this device is, it's kind of like a ham radio or a GMRS radio, but it doesn't have the transmit part. It just has receive technology. And what do we do with that? Well, as soon as it turns on, it knows it's lat long. It hits the REST API up here, and we're going to hit that right now and show you what that might do. So let's try it out. We're going to hit try it out. This is all truly working, no vaporware here. We have a lat long. We have how many range in miles do we want and a count. Let's say we're going to pull down 80 repeaters, and we're going to reach out 35 miles, and let's hit execute. Excuse me. And there is the data that it pulled down live. What is this? These are repeaters. There's the call sign, frequency, offset. We have tones. We even have the city, state they're in. And then we have this ID in here, which is just a crazy random number. And we're going to use that. You'll see how that works. So let's close this. So the AirPulse turned on, figured out it's lat long, hit the API, pulled down all the repeaters for your area. These would probably most likely match basically what's in your handheld right now. The only thing happens next is the AirPulse goes into scan mode. Just like if you picked up your handheld and pushed the scan button. It's just going to cycle through all the channels or repeaters you've got programmed into your radio. It sets the tone and the offset and the frequencies to that entry in your radio and scans. And if it picks up a conversation, it stops scanning, right? And sits there so you can listen to the conversation. Well, AirPulse does the same thing, only what it does is it reports that activity. So it says, hey, let's look at this API. I just found somebody talking or some communication going on this frequency combination. And what does that do? It's a very simple packet. It takes the ID and it says, hey, I heard this at this time. So what does that do? Let's take a look. Let's go to my home location on the map. Let's go over here. There we go. All right, we're going to work with my little home area here. And we got Salt Lake City. Let's go to Navarre. That's basically where I live. So let's choose this radio. So let's see this K4YBC. We're going to select his little ID on the next generation radio. We're going to try this API out. We're going to wipe out that 0, and we're going to put his ID in. So the moment I hit execute, I'm sending this information up to the amateur repeater directory ecosystem. It's going to say, oh, I got you. It's going to update the actual repeater on the map and say, hey, this guy's blinking now, he's active. But also watch what happens on the radio. So remember, the AirPulse is doing this. The AirPulse is sniffing the air. It says, hey, I just found that this repeater is transmitting right now. So let's hit execute. Watch the radio on the left. Boom. Did you see that light up? That's super cool. So the next generation radio is in your hand. You're sitting at home, and all of a sudden that lights up, like literally in near real time. That says, hey, somebody's talking on there, and you can even see the button says TX activate. What also happened now, on the map, we don't have it doing this yet. There's something called SignalR. It's a technology that pushes from the server to the browser. We already use it in our chat, in the chat here, if someone posts a message, you don't have to refresh. It just shows up automatically. So we already have Signal R in our app. It's no big deal. But we never did it for this piece. So let me go ahead and refresh. Let's go refresh the app. Over here, we'll just hit reload. And let's find this guy. He's down here somewhere. There you go. So see this purple icon? This is what a icon looks like, or a repeater looks like when somebody's transmitting on it. Okay, everybody in the whole ecosystem on the map can see this go live instantly. Now in the future, you won't have to refresh the browser. That's about a week after I push this up to production. You'll see that thing just light up instantly when the repeater pulse sends a packet update. Let's take this second guy down here and just show you one more. Let's take his ID. Let's go back into report activity. Let's go into the try out. And this will be all pushed up, and you'll be able to play with this manually just like I'm doing. So let's go ahead and hit execute. Watch the radio over here. Boom. Did you see how quick that was? This radio is actually pulling a specific API. So let's look at this. This radio is pulling get active repeater IDs. Let's go ahead and just try this out. Really takes no input. Oh, the thing is, it's looking at it a lat long, right? Give me the active repeaters in this area. Watch what happens when I hit execute. It pulled down 2 IDs. See these? And that's how it knows to light these guys up. So now we know someone's talking. But this is even cooler. Watch this. Let's take this W9AZZ. I'm going to take its call sign. I'm going to go over to the map. I'm going to search, hit enter, and we just zoomed in. My radio is probably sitting on top of this guy. Yep. All right, and that's a GMRS repeater. So let's do this. I'm going to hit online down here on my repeater context window, but watch the radio over there. Let me click off that so he's not highlighted. I'm going to click, hey, I'm online. Watch that radio over there. Blip. Did you see that? So now not only is repeater pulse sending up, hey, this guy's online. When I mark I'm online on the map, your radio also gets updated. Now these are future radios. Like I said, they're being built. They're very sophisticated. The whole front end is all glass. These are not your current handheld radios. These are super sophisticated. They're running sometimes the whole Linux operating system on there. They talk to GMRS, to ham, to also Meshtastic. I mean, they're just super out of this world crazy new tech. It's really, really interesting. And they're also touchscreen, right? You can scroll, you can click, gone with all the crazy buttons and stuff like that. So that's interesting. One more thing that will happen is, assuming that the developer, remember this radio, next gen radio, this whole thing that I'm showing you is actually real. And let me close this API. This simple API over here, this radio is completely working off just these little 6 functions. Well, maybe it looks like there's 7. The gets are, get data, post, or push data. One thing I didn't show you is the report discovery. If AirPulse is scanning and it finds a signal that's not in your list of channels, it'll push this up and say, hey, I think I just found a radio. See, and it's got more parameters rather than just the ID. It'll say, I found something new out here that's not even listed. And after 3 or 4 reports on that, we'll stand up and take notice and go investigate that, one of our admins or possibly me, and we'll surface that repeater on the map. So not only is AirPulse reporting live activity, it's also discovering repeaters. And let me make a quick distinction now. You do not need an AirPulse device to use the system at all. Your smart radio works without an AirPulse. The map works without an AirPulse, everything. But what the AirPulse does is, as more people buy these and they get deployed all over the country, this entire map in the amateur repeater system starts lighting up everywhere. And we have a really living, breathing, live ecosystem. And the cool thing is also nets. We have nets on here. Nets also start blinking and go live, and they also highlight on the radio over here as well. So there are 3 different ways that things can happen. And here, actually, I didn't show you this, but if I click who's online on the repeater that I marked myself online, you notice it says I'm online right there. Now, it doesn't say that if it comes through AirPulse, because AirPulse doesn't know who's on there. I don't know if I just told you this, but the radio can allow you to opt in. the developer, and can say, hey, I'm going to let people opt in and push data to the amateur repeater directory too. Not only are we going to pull down, but when they push their push to talk button on the side over here, it will automatically post an activity. Hey, this frequency and repeater are online. Doesn't say who it is, it just passes the repeater ID, and that repeater lights up for everybody. That is pretty cool. One more thing, you notice we only have 2 repeaters now, one of them already timed out. After 5 minutes, the activity that, the message that they're live goes offline. Now, if there's a continual conversation, repeater pulse will keep reporting activity every so often, saying, hey, there's still people on here, and it won't go dark. Let's look at something else. Oh, there's another one. See that one timed out. So now we're down to 1. It's pretty fascinating to watch how all this works. And it's all live. It's all real. It's not vaporware. It's all happening now. We've already got this fully implemented. So you notice I can switch cities, right? I can go to St. Louis. I can go to, well, let's go over here, Salt Lake City. Let me go back to Navarre. You can see it still has this list of repeaters. So the smart radio is switching locations, right? It's hitting our API. It's hitting this API to pull down the list of repeaters every time I do that. That's actually really happening live right now. It's super fast. Let's say I buy a brand new next generation Baofeng radio. They haven't developed that yet, but I got a feeling they're going to soon. So I open my new Baofeng next gen radio. In the past, it was, okay, let me make sure I got the K plug. Let me plug it in. Let me install a third-party product that can pull down repeaters, fiddle around with my radio, and push those frequencies out to my radio. Now in the future, what happens is the smart device, you open it up, it turns on, and let's assume that this one's talking to the AirPulse API, which is right up here. You turn on Wi-Fi, you hit the Wi-Fi button on the next gen radio, you connect to your Wi-Fi, and within, I would say, 2 seconds, and immediately your radio has all these frequencies in it. Immediately, you would see live traffic. So imagine a brand new ham owner that just passed, or GMRS that just bought a GMRS radio, just opened their radio, turned it on, and within seconds, it's populated based on its lat long, and you can already see conversations happening on his radio. That is huge. So there's one other thing we can do. Because it can change so quickly, if I was flying to St. Louis tonight, I would get to St. Louis, sometime around 6 p.m., let's say. I can go to my smart radio or my next generation radio and hit, a button on there because the developer of the radio has provided it and says, hey, switch my location to my current lat long. Bingo. It just automatically populates just like I'm doing right now, right? I'm going to Salt Lake City. I'm there. Hey, pull down the repeaters. There it is, right? And I can start talking. I can see who's live, all that. Gone are the days where I need to, populate my radio because I'm going somewhere, or have all these zones populated that eventually are going to change. The nice thing about this is if tones and frequencies and all kinds of things are new repeaters, or repeaters disappear, this API is always real and dynamic and instant. One other thing too, sorry, there's so many things you can do with this API. Because it's pulling down these cities so quickly, it's really not pulling down. If you look at the API, it's not pulling them down by city name, it's pulling them down by lat long. So I live in Navarre, Florida down here, right? Let's pull out a little bit. I live way down here, but my family's way up here in Indiana. So, it's a straight shot on I-65. If I'm driving up I-65 and my next gen radio supports this, and why wouldn't it? Because it's just so easy. As I'm driving, every 20 minutes, this radio could pull down the new list of repeaters based on the location I'm at that lat long, and my radio just continually keeps changing. Now, if I'm on a conversation or any of them are lit up as communicating, it would probably leave those in, right? It wouldn't yank those. It would keep those and pull down new ones and keep adding new ones and stuff like that for you. So you would have connections all the way from Navarre to Indianapolis, just like that. You'd be updating all the time. So let's see if there's anything else I wanted to cover in this. Yeah, you can plan routes. The radio can actually push, when you push to talk, it can also take part in this and populate the map. So now we have people marking themselves online here. We have AirPulse saying, hey, I found a frequency that's online, and now these next generation radios, as long as the operator agrees, will, when he pushes the talk, it will also update the map. So the map will just literally come alive. And what will happen is we will deploy more and more of these AirPulse IDs out there, and the map will just literally build itself, come alive. It will auto-populate repeaters. And we're not really after 20,000 repeaters. We only need 4,000 or 5,000 repeaters to cover the whole US and have all the active repeaters and where all the traffic is. Most of the repeaters have nothing going on. Now we know where things are going on. And one more thing, this is really interesting. It might be subtle, but think about this. Let's take this guy. Let's go back to Navarre. Let's find this KCY4B. Okay, I'm going to search for him. Where is he? Oh, he's already online. Let's go to this guy. We want to find someone that's not online yet. It's the first one in the radio over here. Where is he? Okay, here he is. He's on Navarre Beach. I'm going to hit online. Of course, we know that guy's going to light up. Here's the fundamental difference. In the past, I would get on that radio, on that frequency, on my handheld, and I would say Whiskey 9 or Alpha Lima Bravo monitoring, and just hope and pray somebody's out there to listen, right? The difference is now, everybody that has next generation radios, which will be the future. When you see these things, you're going to be blown away. There are some out there. I'm not posting them right now intentionally, but I will soon. Now what I've done is I marked myself online on this KD4. I said, hey, I'm online. Anybody that pulls this up now could see that there's transmission on this radio. So now what I'm saying, instead of saying, hey, is there anybody out there? Now it's saying, look, everybody, I'm out there, and everybody can see I'm out there. So you can see me, I can't see you, which is interesting. So we've changed the paradigm. Now I'm not hoping and praying I'm out there. I'm letting everybody know that I'm out there, and they can see that I'm out there. Same with nets, very, very cool. So anyway, I hope that gets you excited about what's coming in the future. This is all real. It's all live. It's all super fast and highly tuned. It's not live yet on production. I've tested it all. I'm going to go through one more round of testing, and then we push this up. I'd say probably 3 or 4 days from now, this will all be live. And finally, this little, I call this the virtual next generation radio. We're going to enhance this greatly, and we're going to push this up to our site. You notice how we have this little radio here? We might even expose this radio here on the map where you could pull it up, and it'll work, right? It'll show who's talking, not who, but where, and where the traffic is. So if I live in Navarre, I will see these light up anytime I want. I can be running that, even on my phone, right? I can put this, we'll put this in a separate web page, so you can pull this up on your phone. It'll look like a little radio, and you'll be able to see traffic all the time in your area on this next generation virtual phone. And eventually you'll buy a real next generation phone, and you won't need the virtual device. So there's just so much going on here. So we're excited to tell you about Repeater Pulse 2. Obviously, that goes onto a repeater. So we're writing firmware. I have all the parts sitting on my desk. I wish I could swing a camera around and show you that. But these devices are Bluetooth aware. They connect to Wi-Fi very simply. They push up data to the network API. The AirPulse API will also have a Repeater Pulse API. So just so exciting what's happening. The one thing I was thinking about as I was doing all this, because even I'm blown away by it, the current radios that you hold in your hand, it's kind of funny. When you see an actual next generation radio and you look at your radio, whatever brand it is, in a couple of years, you're going to think of those radios. They're going to look like something maybe your grandfather handed down to you. That's how outdated they're going to become so quickly. Just amazing what's coming down the pipe. Anyway, I hope you're as excited about it as I am. I'm super excited. We're pushing this out. It already supports what these next generation phones are going to be looking for. And also, we're going to flesh out this API and add more APIs and more query capabilities into this ecosystem. So it's all cool. Anyway, thanks for listening.